Hello there guys, and welcome to Planet Coaster. I'm Deftonish, and in this episode I'm going to start building the first few parts of my main street. So I end up building a cinema, and I think it looks really good in the part of the park that I've placed it in. Overall, it turned out quite well, though there are a few things that I'd like to change about it. So first of all, I went about building the main part of the main street. And I wanted to build a kind of featurette at the end of the street that people could look at, much like they have in places like Disneyland and Europa Park. So I wanted to build a kind of roundabout, kind of circular area, but it didn't work out quite as well as I hoped. So it ended up having more kind of diagonal paths, but it worked out quite well in the end, and I end up turning the central grassy areas into a few kind of flower beds and that kind of thing. So I'm just branching off a few different paths to lead off into different areas of the park, which I'll cover in a few different episodes. And I'm just clearing the land of a few trees because they get in the way quite a bit. Okay, so I wanted to build some kind of sidewalk that you'd see in places like Disneyland, that people could walk down the sides of in case there were things like parades or those kind of things. They turned out quite well, and the peeps tend to use them more than they use the main path. I assume that's down to some kind of routing kind of solution that they've placed in the game. It's probably to do with like the shortest path that they need to take to the rides and shops. So I added in a few different flower beds, kind of planters, just to kind of set off the sidewalk a bit. And I think they turned out quite well. There will be more that I'll add to them. And I'm attempting to kind of build a wall, and it just never turned out quite the way I expected it to, which is fine. And I do get rid of it. It just didn't look quite right, and I couldn't sink it into the ground in the right kind of segments, so I just scrapped it in the end. I'm just trying to fit in some lights here, but I didn't get them to work the way I wanted to, so I will come back to this part at a later date. And most likely it's going to be when I finish off the main part of the main street, so it'll probably be one of the later episodes. So I'm trying a few different iterations of how I would go about this, but it just doesn't work out. I almost settled on this blue kind of, I guess it's kind of like a wall offset, but it didn't work quite well. So I moved straight on to building the main part of the cinema, and I wanted a kind of impressive entrance that people would look at and sort of wonder what the actual building was. Obviously, I didn't want it to be too obvious, as it's meant to be a kind of building that would have been placed there and used as a cinema in probably a kind of different kind of time period, so it wouldn't give off the immediate features. I tried duplicating the wall there, but it didn't quite work how I expected it to, so I had to rebuild the wall. And it does look like it's non-symmetrical, but it does get fixed later on. I do notice that. So I'm just placing down these blue walls. Unfortunately, we don't have a massive variety of walls to use at the moment, so it's all kind of mishmash, using different kinds of wall pieces, kind of sinking ones into the others like I did there with the kind of curved pieces. It worked quite well, and I do like the kind of look it gives. One issue though is when you're duplicating objects, they tend to snap to a grid again, which the standard object of that type doesn't normally do. That's just a kind of little bugbear there. I'm trying to build some kind of balcony over the front area, and I do build this balcony, but the archways do actually change in a second because they weren't fitting well with the balconies that I'd placed in. So there we go, I've placed all of the balconies in. I think they really kind of offset the building a bit nicer than it looked before, so they do stay. And I'm trying to build a kind of curved roof. I kind of wanted it to look like some kind of canopy, kind of tent kind of thing, I guess. A sort of kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a circus theme, but it worked quite well how I did it. I'm not sure if it's something I'll keep. I may add in some kind of, I guess, awning kind of thing. I'm not sure, but that kind of thing. And I try adding in these kind of stone pieces, but they don't work quite right. So I actually use one of the signs here as a kind of colour. I get it's just as a different kind of colour. I like the way it worked, and I used some pieces of wood to offset the the colour there. And this is one of the things I love about this game, is that you can take one window and combine it in loads of different ways to create all new windows that aren't actually a standard part of the game. And again, I'm trying to add some different parts of colour here just to kind of offset the building, as otherwise it's just going to be white and blue on one kind of piece. But it does work out quite well in the end. I had to bring the wall back there actually, because it wasn't fitting quite right with some of the signs and pieces I was using. But the solution is done, and it does look better in the end. I'm just trying to cover up some of the kind of clipping errors that are in the game, but that just comes with using pieces in a way that they're probably not meant to be used. Creating a bit more decking here for what I wanted to be a kind of VIP area. It looks quite good, and I imagine it would be something that people book out, a bit like, I think there's that kind of secretive club at Disney that people use. I think you have to be invited to it specifically. So I'm just building the roof here, and I'm not sure whether I actually like how the roof was done. I may come back and change it at some point in the future, but I feel like it fits somewhat of the theme right now, though it does look a bit like a warehouse roof. Not entirely sure, so if anyone could give me ideas of what I could do to change that, just let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to take a look and change it. So I'm just trying to duplicate a few walls here and just place them in the right places just to get the basic layout of the building. It is quite a basic shape, but I try to add as many objects as possible to kind of give it that kind of fancy look, which I think I achieve eventually in the end. I'm trying to play with some glass walls here, but personally I don't think the glass walls really fit anywhere in the game yet. I don't know, there may be a project where I'll try and use them. There's a jump cut there because I was working in the dark and I actually couldn't see a damn thing. So I just removed the glass walls here and replaced them with the walls that I had previously. There was a bit of an issue with them lining up, but I fixed it in the end. And there's these holes underneath these walls here that I don't actually fix properly. I tried to, but in the end I actually quite liked having the kind of walls there. It's maybe, I don't know, kind of like a spy hole kind of thing. Yeah, so I'm adding in the doors just for the VIPs to be able to come out onto this decking, and trying to use some kind of offset wood, but they just wouldn't fit quite right. So I use these glass kind of, I don't know, we'll use the term roof because that's pretty much what they are. But I kind of wanted to cover the whole thing with them, but the pieces just didn't fit quite right. It just became more of a kind of weird wave pattern. So I'm trying to find a sign here to use at the front, and I ended up actually finding something that looks kind of like a movie poster. It's kind of like an octopus kind of thing. So I imagine that they'd be playing some kind of 4D or 3D kind of movie, much like you see at a lot of the theme parks. And I really like the way it actually looked. It does look like a kind of coming soon movie poster, which is quite good. I'm using the chimneys here to actually kind of add a kind of pillar look to the bottoms of the walls. And that's a lot of what this game is at the moment, because we don't have the best pieces to use, so I basically used as many pieces as I could to create new objects and new kind of looks, just to make the architecture look a little bit more different than you'll be able to get in the standard game. Well, it is all pieces from the standard game, so you could do this yourself. It's pretty simple, you just slide objects into each other. I kind of wanted to put an air vent on the side, but I just didn't think it like fit with the theme. So I'm adding a few little bits of the wood here just to, again, offset that whole extra blue panel. I'm still not sure whether I actually like that blue panel, but I do like the offset that I've done to it, so I'll probably keep it as it is for now. I was looking for some kind of cinema sign that would kind of work as a kind of billboard, but I couldn't really find anything, so I'm moved away from that, and now I'm just onto the whole like offsetting the wall so it doesn't look like the blue colour just ends in the middle of nowhere, and in fact actually looks like it's been done properly and architecturally. Is that even a word? Architecturally, I don't know. But again, I'm using these chimneys here again just to kind of add some kind of featurette to the whole front of the building. I place a chimney in the top of the cinema there, but it just didn't really work in the roof, so I do delete it. And again, using these windows, merging them in with one another, duplicating them again, and just placing them all over the building. It's such an easy way of being able to create new objects that wouldn't originally be part of the game. So yeah, that worked out quite well. I'm actually trying to add some kind of billboard on the side here that would advertise some kind of ride or shop around the park. I think it fits quite well, and it would be probably an internal kind of marketing thing that they'd use, just to advertise like the newest rides and those kind of things. Again, creating more windows. These are actually set in the wrong part. They're not actually central, but you can't really tell too much unless you look very closely. So I just left them as they are. And then I built these kind of more office windows, as I felt like there'd be some kind of behind the scenes kind of employee area that they'd be working in this building, or maybe even a projector room, that kind of style thing. And then I went to build these kind of wooden walkways, but Fraps decided to stop recording, and so you missed out on that part. But you do see me tweaking them a little bit, bringing them lower, making them fit with the whole decor of the building. These would probably be like staff doors or some kind of, I don't know, some kind of exit kind of way. Not that it could really go anywhere, it's that kind of thing, but maybe it could be some kind of like outdoor like eating or drinking area. Yeah, and again, adding these chimneys. These chimneys are so good for doing anything in the game, to add some kind of feature or some kind of offset kind of architecture. And it works really well across the whole building. I think there's about 3 or 4 different chimney types, and they all work just the same and work so well. I was trying to sink in this kind of thing to kind of create this offset look on the roof, but I keep one piece, but the rest of it I get rid of. It just didn't work how I wanted it to. This is me trying to find a kind of cinema. They're not really screens, but more they're like the now playing kind of signs. So I included those, and they actually look quite well. Again, I actually found a place for those glass windows, and I fit them in there. I'm still not sure about whether I like them, but they worked well enough for now. And I may eventually go back and change them, but as of now I'm happy with them. I sink in these walls, but I don't actually fix the clipping errors around them, so that's actually still there. And I'm trying to find a way to build a kind of a large kind of bulletin board or sign across this whole front part of the wall, and I do eventually find a way, though I do find it kind of tricky to place this object in there, but I get it in the end. And here, yeah, I put the large kind of I don't know what it's really called. It's called something in the game, but I can't remember, and I added a sign to it just that would probably say like cinema or theatre, that kind of thing. I'm just adding some cornices to the building here, but I couldn't get them to fit on the other side, so I just had them fit on one side and just left it as that. But I think they look really good, and add some kind of architectural detail to the building that wouldn't normally be there. Yeah, I'd like to find a way that I could fit them on the other side, but as of now I couldn't, and then I tried to mess around with this round tower, but it just didn't work at all. So I eventually moved the building, because I'm pretty much done with it at this point. And I wanted to build some kind of rocky kind of flower beds that would surround the building, not too far out, as I'd like to build some kind of shop next to this, or like probably a gift shop would be the best kind of bet. And I'm surrounding these flower beds with rocks. I actually really like the look of the rocks in this game, and they're so versatile. You could use them on pretty much any project you could think of, and they'll fit in really well. So I'm just laying out the main boundary of this second flower bed and filling it in with trees, oddly enough, because the trees actually work very well if you sink them into the ground. And again, using these kind of topiary kind of bushes, that kind of thing. Again, adding in some little flower kind of baskets, and popping some of the trees inside. And that worked out quite well. Again, using these rocks, like I said, they're so versatile. So I think I'd like to surround this whole, I'd say surround, probably in the grassy areas in the middle, I'd like to cover them in these rock beds, and kind of use them as flower beds, as a kind of probably like something to draw the eye when you're walking down the main street, be able to see them. Again, using these bushes, and now onto the lighting. The lighting in this game is absolutely magnificent. You can achieve pretty much anything you'd like to, though some of the lights, I will say, are quite bright, so they do need dulling down with probably the white as it just sort of brings down the I guess the saturation. Yeah, brings down the saturation of the light. I love how they're themed to actual lighting. I guess actual lighting lights. I don't know the actual word. So well, I know they're called parkans. So they work quite well. And adding in a few street lamps around. I actually put in way too many, and then I delete a few, as I realised it was absolutely overloaded with lights. As you can see, there's just far too many of them. So I do delete every other one and leave it like that. And then I found these kind of the cosmic cow signs that worked really well as kind of like posters. Again, some billboards that I popped in to show off the latest films. Replaced the cosmic cow one with a chief beef one that worked actually quite well. I kind of wish I could create my own signs and have them in the game, but I guess because the game's only alpha at the moment, we won't have the user generated content. Just popping in a lantern on the front just to add a bit of yellow glow to it. A few green lights for a bit of a kind of, I guess, eerie kind of effect for the night. They're aimed at the bushes just to give them a bit more greenness. And then these pink lights which look amazing. So yeah, that's it. You can see a few screenshots of the current build, both in nighttime and daytime. I think it worked out really, really, really well. And yeah, I will come back to this building because I'm not completely satisfied with it, but as of now it's finished and I'd like to get on to the next part of the building. So thanks very much for watching. If you liked it, give this video a like, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks very much.